You see, be sold out on your dream. Be sold out on your dream, and your gift or your talent is your superpower. You know, if you lose that, you've lost it. But you know, your gift when a fish is in water, the genius comes out. When a fish is in water, a fish is a god. Nobody can move like a fish. You know, and that is for me too. When I'm operating in my business, you know, this is my office. You get, I'm like God operating in His field. I'm like God operating in heaven. You know, so you have to fight to stay in your God-given role, regardless of what comes at you.
Yeah, let's welcome.
You know.
Hey guys, welcome to How They Did It with TriciaBiz, a show that takes you behind the scenes of successful African entrepreneurs, change makers, and creators, showing you the journeys that led to their success.
This episode is sponsored by Traction Apps, the growth partner for your business.
So I'm live in the city of Abuja and I will be interviewing a very passionate business owner. Now this is a business that started with 30,000 Naira, the approximate of $50 in today's economy. And at the peak of the business, 5 years after, this business had grown to over $1 million. But the business began to tank due to a couple of issues that you'll find out in today's episode. So let's go in and chat with Wale and find out how he has built this amazing brand in 7 years. All right, guys, so we are here with Wale, the founder of Sapphire Group.
Thank
It's
you.
nice to have you on the show.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you for having us. So we're going to get right into it.
Right.
So what was growing up like for you?
Growing up was really fun. You know, it was exciting for me. I grew up in a big family. There were 9 of us, you know, and I was number 7.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So my dad was a businessman and then a politician. You know, so there was a lot of traveling. You know, there was a lot of books because we had a bookstore.
Okay.
You know? So yeah, growing up was a lot of fun. You know, I had the other ones that would send you shoes and clothes. You know, perfumes. You know, my dad was big on perfumes. So I grew up with a lot of perfumes, a lot of clothes, a lot of shoes, a lot of books. You know, and he was also big on education and good schools. You know, so I attended King's College Lagos, the International School Ibadan, then Bowen University. Yeah, so yeah, growing up was a lot of fun for me.
Okay, so will you say that the environment you found yourself in growing up kind of helped when you decided that you were going to go into this line of business?
Absolutely, because it seems like everything that is now a business to me was what was the norm in my house. You know, perfumes, books, clothes, watches, you know, fashion kind of thing, you know. So yeah, that basically.
Okay, so while you were in like university, did you ever think that you were going to become a business owner, or when did the business idea begin to come through?
Oh yeah, I'd actually been a businessman. You know, even while in school, you know, I used to have a big bag of clothes I used to sell in the hostel.
Okay.
You know, used to sell a lot of things. There was a time I was making pancakes, crazy. You know, so you know, I just had a lot of crazy ideas. They were never like normal. The kind of clothes I was selling were not. They had to be either skinny jeans, and you know, then skinny jeans were. So I'll just pick a part of the market and just focus on it that I liked. You know, it was almost taboo for me to do anything that I wasn't enjoying selling myself. You know, so yeah, so I'd always been a businessman, but a weird one. You know, because my ideas were not things that
normal. We're not they were different.
They were different.
They're not the norm. Okay, so after school, what happened?
So after school, you know, I served. Then I went for service. Then I was supposed to work in my father's business, you know. Then he died, and then yeah. So you know, I just felt like you know what, I'm not sure I can do this any longer. Then I started working at an organization. It was from there that the idea for perfumes came again. Then I just focused on it, you know, and you know, it just captivated me since then.
Okay, so how did you start it? So you had the idea,
Yeah.
you wanted to go into perfume, you'd grown up around perfumes and all of that, but how did you then start?
Okay, yeah. So I had a friend that came in from Dubai and brought in a bottle of perfume for me. And that was the first time I was going to hear the word oud.
Okay.
And it was just special. It was different. At this time, it was a crazy time for me. I was squatting at my younger brother's house at this time with my wife and my daughter. I just been transferred from Benin to Abuja, so I was looking for ideas to make money, make extra income, and all of that. And this idea struck me, and I was like, "Whoa, this is good," but I don't want to go to Dubai to start bringing in perfumes. So. But then I felt like, okay, Wuse Market in Abuja here, they will have something close to this fragrance. So I faced Wuse Market. At that point, I had a gift. Like I mentioned, I could smell perfumes. I knew what could sell. I knew what could not sell. My gift of my life was if somebody wore a particular perfume, I'll be able to know. I'll be able to tell you what you're
exactly
wearing. So imagine somebody wearing Gucci and Paco Rabanne, and I'm telling you what you're wearing like a prophet. And it was just crazy. So I entered this store at Wuse Market full of all kinds of funny smells, and I was just able to deduce 3 or 4 different perfumes that I knew, okay, this is like what I smelled at that time, and this will sell. So that's how I started. And then I put it on my Instagram, I began to market and advertise, and I did that for close to a year before I was now able to start buying my own perfumes in Dubai. And I got to Dubai, and it was like a cocktail of aromas and perfumes and all of that, and I was able to identify what those were, bring them to Nigeria, sell, send money back, bring in more. Unfortunately, people started copying what I was doing, so they wait for me to go to Dubai, bring in the perfumes, and then they would look for the pictures and send the same thing to their agents. And then they were crashing the market. So it was at that point that I decided that, I need to start making my own perfumes, but I didn't know how. So the last time I traveled, I got some perfume oils. I began to experiment with them, just play with them, use them for myself. It didn't really have any meaning for me until I had a client that said, "Wale, I don't want any of these regular perfumes. I need something special. Mix this for me, and I'm going to the State House. I have a meeting." And he went to the State House. I walked past the first lady, and she said, "Young man, what fragrance is that?" And he came to tell me that story. I said, there's something here. I need to explore this. So that's when I started taking the gift of making perfumes really, really seriously, and the reaction, it's been 7 years now, the reaction is still wild. I can't get over people telling me, "Oh my God, I love your fragrances." It's my mumu button. I just smiling. It's a journey that I'm addicted to, really.
Okay, so let's rewind back.
Yeah.
So while you started the first version of the business, you had just been transferred from Benin.
Yeah.
What were you doing in Benin? What was happening in your life at that time?
Okay, so I was working at a foundation. It's these organizations that give money to NGOs. So I was a program assistant. And that was what I was doing, but it wasn't a job that I really loved. It was crazy. I was always fighting with my boss. So it was all of these fights that they say, let's transfer this way.
Let's go out of this town.
You get. So that was what I was doing for that time. I did that from 2012 to 2014 to 2015.
Okay.
Yes. I worked from that organization from 2011 actually, from 2011 to 2015. Yes.
Okay, so you in Abuja, you started going to the market.
Yes. So it was in 2015 that they transferred me back to Abuja. That I started going to the market to go look for scents.
So at what point did you then resign and be like, I'm going to just face this thing I'm doing?
So 2015, the perfume business started. I remember that by March, I started around March.
Okay.
By July, I turned over ₦1 million doing this. Yeah. August, I went to Dubai, and by December of that year, I gave them 1 month's salary back, bought some furniture from the office. They were auctioning some furniture. I bought some furniture, converted one of the rooms in my 3-bedroom to Sapphire Scents, and, and I kicked off from there. Yeah.
Interesting. So you started with how much?
30,000.
30,000, and in like 3 months, you already turned that into
₦1
million.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So and in that beginning phase where you were just retailing scents from the market, what marketing strategy worked for you?
It was social media. Always been social media.
Okay.
So I would advertise on social media. you know, and then I would celebrate the people that bought. So if you bought a bottle of perfume from me, I'll go there and say, oh, Trish just bought a bottle of perfume, you know, thank you for the patronage, you're a very stylish, classy person, be like Trish, you know. So people will reach out to me and say, okay, let me buy them a bottle, you know. So everybody that bought got a shout out.
Aha, so that was something that helped you in the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we start going to Dubai.
Yeah.
How does the business evolve from there?
Right. So in Dubai was really exciting for me. It was just like scent heaven kind of thing. Everywhere there were just exotic aromas from the airport. Yeah, you're being hit with all sorts of oud, you know. Now, some people will just walk past, they don't notice it, but me, so like I see with my nose, right? So yeah, all these fragrances are just saying, hi, how you doing? You know, it was just really exciting. Then you get to the market and it was just amazing. And I was just sampling, you know, give me this, give me that, give me that, give me that. I was able to narrow down to like 8 different fragrances. And I brought those back to Nigeria and it was a hit from day one, selling other people's fragrances. I remember smelling some of them and I was just, the guy was Pakistani, so I hugged him. I said, my guy, we don't hammer. The guy said, what? I said, my guy, we don't hammer. He didn't understand what I was saying, but I knew, you know, I knew that, you know what, these fragrances were going to be a hit, you know, at the time. So I would buy those fragrances in Dubai. And then another thing I started doing was I started a distributorship chain. Basically, it was more like people that, just like me at that time, I was working, I was being paid 130,000, but the salary couldn't do much because I was squatting. You know, I needed to get a house, I needed to do all these things. So I felt like there are lots of people that way too, that needed to make extra income, needed to make extra money. So I started a distributorship chain by saying, register with me for 10,000, I think it was 10,000 naira. Pay me 10,000 naira, I will give you, I think it was 2 bottles of perfumes worth 14,000. So by the time you sell those 2, you have made 4K extra. And people will sell out in a day. You know, they'll sell those 2. And then we started doing those flyers to say, this person registered as a distributor with 10,000 and in less than 24 hours, they're sold out. So that also helped us. It helped the market. It helped to build a structure for us. So I'll buy these perfumes in Dubai, bring them to Nigeria, sell, send the money back. You know, I'll cargo them in again, you know. And that was it until I started making my own fragrances. So when we started making our own fragrances, it was crazy because suddenly production came involved. Now all of this time you are buying bottles fragrance. Now you are responsible for your own bottles, for your own packaging, for your own shipping. You know, a lot was just going on. But you know, I remember we had bottles that you had to keep like this. So you give the person instruction like a native doctor. Say, don't tilt it to the side. So keep it was crazy. So imagine somebody buying a perfume and it's carrying like this. Okay, waiting they But it was crazy, you know. So, you know, and we went from there to create, you know, because I used to look at all the perfumes we had, all the foreign perfumes. And I was like, these guys don't have nothing on me. The only thing they had on me was better packaging, better production lines, you know. And so we began to just strive to be able to, you know, make beautiful bottles. You know, perfume is a beauty game, right? Your bottles have to be beautiful. Everything has to look really good. So we began to say, when we have the opportunity, we'll make the most beautiful, classiest bottles ever, with the most beautiful scents ever. And, you know, and God made it happen for us. You know, so you cannot, when you see a bottle of Sapphire, you know that this is something. You know?
So in the time when you did that switch from just buying in Dubai to now creating your own scent, what mistakes did you make in that season?
Oh, a lot of mistakes. So first of all, the kind of funding we got was one of the mistakes we made. So this is you doing a long-term business, but all the money that you could access was short-term. And basically what happened at that time was we didn't pay attention to the switch from selling other people's fragrances to selling our own perfume, because this is our first time doing that. And you know, perfumery is we are such a pioneer in the perfumery game in Nigeria and Africa. You don't have many people that you can go and meet and say, how did you do your own? So this is you know, trailblazing, pathfinding a path by yourself, a total business line that nobody has been before, and you are doing it all by yourself, and there are no people to ask questions, to say this and that and that and that. So we had people that are giving us money for the short term, and suddenly you have a long-term thing to do. Production will take, give or take, at least 3 to 4 months. Maybe shipping will take another month. Now the investors that we had, that their period was 6 months. You have to pay these people back their money. You know. Now, because you are now selling your own fragrances, you need a store, you need staff, you need a lot that I was going into. And nobody told me that the perfumery industry is a very, very capital-intensive business. I think it's probably one of the most capital-intensive businesses you ever do, because everything has to be produced, everything has to be customized, everything. If you want to stand out, if you are just playing with it, then you can do it anyhow. That's why till date you don't see many people, you know, doing perfumes the way we do it. You know, for instance, NAFDAC, before they can even give you approval, they'll tell you to go and get a whole building. You must have production somewhere, you must have that somewhere, this, that. You know, so there's a lot that goes into the creation of a fragrance. So it's a business that is backed up by so much passion, so much dedication, so much commitment. If you are not convinced about it, it's something that you're going to run away from, because it's crazy, it will stress you. You know.
Interesting. Okay, so now you're producing your own scents.
Yeah.
How do you convince people? Because it's easier to sell what exists. So how do you convince people, you know, to buy it?
Yeah.
What strategy do you use then to grow the business? Because I assume that the business is growing now year on year.
Yeah.
So what strategy do you use to convince people?
Okay, so the things we did initially was, the perfumes were first of all selling themselves, because when people smelt them, it was not like anything that they had smelt. It was not like any fragrance that they ever used before. What we did was, now this is me, a perfume connoisseur. I have a library in my head, a library of scents, you know, that I've been smelling for as long as I can remember, maybe from 3 years old, from Old Spice to Givenchy to Gucci. You know, my dad was a big perfume person, everybody in my house. So you have all this library of fragrances in your house, and then you are creating a scent. So what I started doing was to merge Oriental and French to create the perfect mix, including some very, very African fragrances that people didn't even know were African. So frankincense and myrrh are actually very, very African fragrances. So this is me beginning to work with oud, frankincense, and myrrh to create scents, right? So oud is Middle East, frankincense and myrrh is African, and then you now have some other things, patchouli, all those other things from Europe, you know. So you have French, you have African, you have Middle East. You know, combining all of this together to create one unique fragrance. It was too much for people. It was explosive from day one. People were like, "What is this?" You know. So it was. You know, we the moment we were ready, you know, by the time we now had our packaging and everything in place, you know, we just took off. So that was it for us at that time.
Great.
This is me interrupting your watch time to tell you to like this video, share it, and also subscribe to my channel. You're still watching How They Did It with TriciaBiz.
Okay, so now you're creating your own line.
Yeah.
And the next thing we see you dining with past presidents and people of influence. You know, we can literally just see some of them here.
Yeah.
So how did this idea come about, and how were you even able to, you know, get your product into the hands of these powerful people?
Right. You see, Nigerians are big on gifts. They're big on showing honor, and everybody is looking for something that is just special to gift an important person, you know, to open doors for them. I'll never forget the late Ubon King, you know. I mean,
Troublemaker.
And he just called me up one day and said, Wale, would you like to present a bespoke to former President Jerry Rawlings? I'm like, I don't you want me. Yeah, seriously, we're going to Ghana. Let's go. And that was it. Yeah, that was it. So people like to honor people in Africa. People, if you're important, you're special to them, you've done something for them, they're thinking of something to honor you with. And this was us with this idea. Don't forget that the first fragrance I made was actually bespoke. It was custom for someone, And so it just took a life of its own from there. So people will say that, oh, you did for this person you presented. And there's just this thing when you present a bespoke to somebody, when I've seen people just go crazy. Important people, they look at it, they look at you, they look at it, they look at you. The next question they're asking you, what do you want? What can I do for you? I mean, I've seen presidents, I've seen, there's probably no powerful, important, special person in this country in terms of dignitaries that have not gotten a bottle of bespoke, and I've seen what it does to them. It opens doors like this, so maybe people notice that. And that's what just keeps them coming back, So that was the origin of the whole thing. People just notice that there's this special gift I can give somebody.
They can give someone that's different, yes, from the norm.
You get, and so they'll call you back. You get calls from strange places to say, my boss has this perfume, it's finished, he needs a refill. And the custom, the strategy behind the bespoke is to create a signature scent for that person.
For that person.
You get,
so you won't smell it anywhere else ever.
Exactly. So it's specially created for the person. And they just come back for a refill and all of that. So it's an emotional, very, very, very close to the heart now for people.
So you capitalize on emotional connection to drive this.
Exactly.
So we see this. Next thing, the brand is on billboards.
Yeah.
Next thing, you are signing ambassadors, musicians, influencers, actors, etc.
Yeah.
What was that strategy? And in hindsight now, would you repeat the same strategy for the brand? Was it worth all the money that was invested?
Okay. For starts, because my focus, I felt my competition were the international brands, right? And you had all of them doing the same thing. You had, you have, you see Jennifer Lopez. She even had her own perfume. You see Beyonce. You see all these international celebrities promoting perfume brands. I felt like, if that's how it's happening over there, let's start doing the same thing. Don't forget, we are the only African perfume brand in the market operating at that level. So, and then another thing that worked for me, because it actually worked, was it struck me like a blow in the face that people will not do business with you. People cannot patronize what they don't know. Nigerians don't patronize what they don't know. If you want to sell, you want to make money, your name has to be out there.
So brand awareness is key.
So that was it for us at that time. It was a massive, crazy campaign. It was massive, it was crazy. And looking back, would I do the same thing? I'll do some parts and I'll not do some parts. And I'll tell you why, because especially when it comes to people, right? So for instance, you have a brand ambassador, you spent millions on billboards, and you sign a contract that even says that even after the whole thing, you can keep using their picture, but there's now bad blood, things are not working. You won't want to even use the picture because every time you do, it brings back the bad blood. So it means all the money you spent on billboards, on announcements, on photo shoots, and all of that. More like, because it worked, so I won't say it was down the drain, right? But it has a limit. Yeah,
the shelf life, so you couldn't continue.
So guess what I'm going to be doing next time? All the billboards, all the photo shoots, I put myself
yourself.
On it. Absolutely. So that's the new strategy.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay, so at what point in time or what year did you decide that you wanted to expand and then you started the whole crowdfunding?
Right, that was in 2016.
Okay.
So it was...
That was a year after you launched?
Yes, that was the year after I launched. And it was late 2016 when we wanted to start producing our own bottles. We had launched, we had evolved into making our own fragrances. And I didn't want to make what people call made in Nigeria. Okay. There's a way people tag made in Nigeria. Like it's most times substandard, inferior, and people just expect you to understand it's made in Nigeria now. That kind of thing. I didn't want that kind of thing. I needed something that could compete, globally, so that you go to Harrods, they put a bottle of Sapphire, they put the other one, and you can't tell the difference. If they don't tell you some guy in Nigeria that making this, you'll be able to know the difference. So that was more like the motivation, right? And then people started reaching out. I remember the first I remember getting the first call ever to say, well, did you need money for your business? I said no, because I was very, very scared of debt and all of this. I just wanted to do my business. But then at that point, we had started, we got one or two, and business was flowing. So like, this is good, there's no problem. I think we can handle this, you get. And then, we started doing that. But before you knew it, we realized that time frame was going to become a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, from 2016, 2017, all was good, you get. But then we had, in 2016, the apartment I was using, I got another apartment. That was now Sapphire, you get, instead of my 3-bedroom. So that was fine, you get. Business was moving. We had started producing the bottles. They are not landed, but we had started doing the production and all of that. So 2016, I think it landed later. It landed later in 2017.
Okay.
So this is me even thinking that our production time will be short. You get. Suddenly you realize that things can happen during production. That's not going to happen. But thankfully we're still, making do with the other bottles and other things we had. So that was fine. We were able to cover. But then expansion. Now we have to be in Lagos because there's a Lagos market. You have lots of people calling you from Lagos. And, as a manufacturer, what you are thinking is, okay, so if people are calling me in Lagos this much, if I open a Lagos store, I'm going to make more money, you get. Then, along the way, we went to Abidjan, Ivory Coast, and then it was just, they just gave me a call and said, come to Ivory Coast, come and speak to us and all that. And I said, okay, let me just carry some perfumes. And in under 2 hours, we sold over 1 million naira worth of perfumes. It's there's a market here, we need to open a store here. Then Ghana too, like that. So all of these plans were beginning to unfold. You're trying to put money together. You're saving money. You're paying your investors. You're putting all of these plans in place. And things were sort of like working well until 2019 ending. 2019 ending, unknown to us, December of 2019, because I was actually supposed to go to China. I had my visa. They even said everywhere was closed. Now, the pandemic was not in everybody's wild imagination. It was just something that 3 months and all of that. It will pass and all of that. So, by that 2019 December, some goods we were expecting all to have landed. Now, delays were happening, but we just felt like, it was going to be one of those things. As we were trying to pick up on that, we had been having some fractures because of those delayed products and all of those things. 2022 by March, boom, they locked everywhere. So this is you doing perfumes from 2015 to 2019. You are making money every single day. Suddenly all your stores are locked. You are not making a dime because nobody is even thinking of perfumes at that time.
Of course.
You get
survival.
Everybody's just trying to survive. So for the first time, money is not flowing like it's supposed to be flowing. Now you have all these investors already that you're supposed to be paying. Now it doesn't even help that Wale now rolls with
the big boys.
There are celebrities involved. The billboards are everywhere. He has a big mouth. It's controversial. He has haters on one side. He has supporters on the other side. He has people he has to pay money. And Wale is constantly decked in Versace and all of these things. So this is just this extremely colorful guy you get that is owing me money. You get. Even me, I would drag me at that point. You get. It was. This involves people's life.
Yes. For some people, it's their entire life savings.
So this is you with these people's money, and you have this larger than life image. Definitely, this guy has his money. Now, just refused to pay me. So that was the picture. And it was crazy. It was crazy. We put out statements. Everything we were just doing, people were just because people had had a lot of funny experiences even at that time.
Yes, with other brands.
With other brands, people were running away. They had done some kind of Ponzi businesses, MMM and the rest of them. They would come to the office. They would come to those offices and realize that the place was locked, everybody run away. But this is also here we're trying to tell people at that point that, see, we are here. We are not going anywhere. The business just has to pick up. We sell perfumes. How many perfumes have you bought during this pandemic? But people were not having any of it. They just felt like this guy had the money all stocked up somewhere and he just used to pay us. But God was gracious to us and merciful to us.
Hold up. I want to share with you a fantastic feature that our sponsors for this episode, Traction Apps, have. By now, if you are a How They Did It loyal fan, I assume that you already have downloaded the app or opened an account on the web platform. So the feature is called the wallet. Now, when you open your Traction app account, you have a wallet where the monies that are paid through your transactions goes to. Now, this wallet is useful for a couple of reasons. Number one, through the wallet, your cashiers, your store attendants can check transaction alerts. So no more having to call you on the phone to confirm if a customer made a payment or a transaction. They can simply open the wallet and see the money coming within seconds. So that reduces anger from customers who have to wait for confirmation. Number two, you can transfer money out to other banks or to your own account in another bank, right? That is where your funds are primarily held. And lastly, you can buy your airtime. Now, the good thing about buying airtime with your Traction wallet is the fact that if you buy airtime, you get 3% cash back. So let's say, for instance, you buy airtime worth 1,000 naira on any of the networks in Nigeria, you get 30 naira cash back. So if you're buying as much as possible, just know that every time you buy, you get 3% cash back. So check the links below. So if you are yet to open your account and you're a business owner doing business out of Nigeria, you are wrong. Go to the link in the captions, open your Traction app and begin to enjoy all the fantastic features that Traction has to help you grow your business.
So this is 2020 March.
Yes.
Right. So how many people, if you have or estimates, how many people had invested in business and were expecting payouts at that time?
It was around 100 people.
100 people.
Yes, around 100 people.
Okay, so we begin to see you on blogs.
Yeah.
We see all sorts of defamation of character. And everything. How have you been able to, so this is 2 years after?
Yeah.
How have you been able to, navigate the whole defamation, and what has been the impact on sales for the business? Because the business still has to run to raise the income to pay the people that you're owing. So how have you been able to navigate through and weather the low sales that will come as a result of that?
One of the mistakes we made was we didn't take defamation seriously, because if you're owing someone, you have a conscience, you would have the guilt, hey, this person is doing this because I'm owing the person. But what people need to understand about defamation is, if someone is owing you, and then just like what these loan apps do to people, if someone is owing you money, then they now go everywhere to start making noise and spoiling your name that you are owing me money. What it does is, it makes it impossible for you to do business. This is you with the guilty conscience, think, oh, this person is doing this because you are owing money. I remember the first lady that ever called us out. We paid her, how much? We're supposed to pay her 605,000. We paid her 300K, and we're supposed to pay her the balance on Tuesday. On Monday, she called us out. And we just kept quiet and felt like, oh, maybe because we didn't pay her on time. But what defamation does is that it stops you. Like, it sort of like puts a roadblock on your path. Now you can't really do business the way you're supposed to do business, because people have this kind of, perception about you and all of that. So, in my book, I said, never tolerate defamation. Do something about it. Why it's so dangerous is because a few years' time, people will come at you and say, oh, this is what happened. This is what I read about you. What did you do about it? If you had filed. Now, you see, owing money is a civil matter. Defamation is a crime.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, people don't know that. If somebody is owing you money, it's a civil matter. But defamation is a crime. It's a crime.
What did you expect people to do? Because the conversation then was, oh, we're reaching out to Wale, we're reaching out to his team. They are not responsive, or they're giving bogus dates. And this is all the money I worked for. So in that instance, people just take to social media, which is the era we're in. So how should we have handled it, since we're not getting the response we wanted?
Great. So now this is us. Before then, we have put out a statement. I know lots of people do that. They put out a statement saying this is what is going on. And then, of course, you don't expect people to understand, because at that time it was extraordinary, because now there's a pandemic happening, right? Everybody that has money everywhere wants to get their money in their pocket, right? So this is you have done business with people's monies. You have products that you can't sell at the moment. and somebody's coming to meet you to say, pay me my money, you are giving him a response to say, I'm so sorry, we are working towards your payment. You get, because you don't, now it's hard, somebody is asking you for something you don't have at the moment, right? This is money that's been invested, that you're expecting returns, you're expecting to sell. Now, these are an extraordinary events that what you have produced.
Don't even know how long this will.
You don't know how long this will take. These are perfumes. You don't know how you're even going to sell it. Yet you are supposed to pay these people their money, and they need a response now. You know, so it's a crazy moment, and of course you can't give them the response that they expect.
Like, this is the day I'm going to get my money back.
So send me your account number. I'm doing your transfer now. That's the response that they want. Any other response that you give them at that time is never going to make sense. You know, so their only way to sort of like express themselves at that time, because this person is also big on social media, is to go to social media and talk about it, right? And then people took it from there and said, this is exciting, especially because of the person involved, of how he looks, his associations and everything. So it just became an issue, you know. But if we had put our foot down to say, we all signed a contract to say this is how conflict is actually supposed to be managed.
Take it to the core.
Exactly. And if we had even been serious about that, it would have helped us a little bit. But you know, what I'm grateful for in the entire thing was that we learned a lot in the process. You know, we are grateful to so many investors that said, okay, Wale, I know you can't pay right now, but give me products. You know, give me products. You know, so we had a lot of them that did that for us. You know, so that really helped us to pay back in kind, because we didn't have cash, so it was more like in kind. You know, and then we recently went into real estate too. Okay. So we're now telling investors that, see, while we are still working back to pay your money, can you take a plot of land? Even if you don't want it as in total, take it as collateral. Okay. So hold something of mine, right? While I work on making your payment to you. And when I finish making your payment, you can revert back to us. Right? So, you know, so those are the strategies that we used
to try to weather it. But I've also seen some people say things like, the money that they've used to go and procure real estate, why didn't they just give us the money as our payment, and then we all go our separate ways?
Now, what people didn't understand was, it's not like we had land to say, why they bought lands. People started approaching me and say, Wale, I've seen what you do with perfumes. If you can sell perfumes and, you know, create your own brand and do like this with perfumes in the last 7 years, I think you can sell real estate. You know, a lot of people have actually been approaching me before now, but I wasn't interested. So basically what happened was, somebody has a real estate company and says, well, they come and partner. Okay. You get, it will say, probably somebody has like 5 hectares of land. He said, well, take 2 hectares, sell at this price, give me my profit. You get. So say for instance, you're selling a plot for 15,000, I will give you at 8,000. So you're making 7,000, I'm making 8. You get. But I know that you in this would bring a lot of people, bring a lot of awareness to my land and all that. So that's what happens.
So it helps them, it helps you.
Exactly. Okay. So it's not like we had land.
Money and you went to pay somebody to give you the land.
And real estate is one of those businesses that you don't really need capital to start.
True.
You know, so if a land is 15 million, you can walk over to the owner of the land and say, see, I'm interested in this land, right? Let me start advertising it, and I'm selling, I'll be paying you. So, you know, so it was the perfect solution that we had
for sourcing funds.
You get, and for, making progress. So, so that was it basically.
So by your estimations, based on how the business is doing now, when do you think you'll be done with everybody?
Give or take, I know that within the next 1 to 2 years, we'll be clear. Okay. We'll be clear.
All right. Yeah. Fantastic. Well done. I must say well done, because, you know, I read your book and I saw all the things about, you know, DSS picking you up, EFCC picking you, police picking you. But it's just interesting to see that you're still standing. And that's really why we're here, you know, because many times we really don't tell the stories behind the tenacity of visionaries who are like, you know what, despite everything, I'm going to fight for my dream. And that's what I see here. So I think, what's that one thing that you tell somebody who is in business and has hit a roadblock? It may not be your type of roadblock. It may be with suppliers, maybe with someone. What's that one thing that kept you going despite all the call-outs and all the insults and all the threats? What's that one thing?
You see, be sold out on your dream. Be sold out on your dream, and your gift or your talent is your superpower. You know, if you lose that, you've lost it. But you know, your gift, when a fish is in water, the genius comes out. When a fish is in water, a fish is a god. Nobody can move like a fish. You know, and that is for me too. When I'm operating in my business, you know, this is my office. You get, I'm like God operating in His field. I'm like God operating in heaven. You know, so you have to fight to stay in your God-given role, regardless of what comes at you.
Regardless of what comes at you.
I mean, and I like to look at the life of Paul. You know, Paul was an extremely tenacious person. Paul was the kind of person that he would be preaching somewhere. There will be people waiting to beat him up after the preaching. Tomorrow he's still preaching. You get, he did that for 13 years till they eventually killed him. Imagine, they were telling him, don't go to Jerusalem because they are going to deal with you there. He said, but this is where God is sending me. You know, so challenges, success, legendary business. Go and check all of them. They were built on blood, on sweat and tears. You know, so if there's no blood and sweat and tears in your business, on your journey, there's something missing. Because if it's actually going to stand the test of time, this is just 7 years now. You know, still doing what we believe in. And if you are sold out on your dream, you can sell anybody. You know, you always meet the same response from me. We will pay you. We are not going anywhere. This is going to be sorted. And it will. And we've seen it being sorted.
Fantastic. So before this whole, you know, the issues began to come up, while the business was at its prime, which is 2019, what was the business worth then? At
that time, we had done over $1 million worth of sales in perfumes.
Fantastic. And that would be like in 4 years?
Yes, in 4 years at that time, yes.
You know, I'm curious, like what's that strategy? What were the strategies that helped you? Because I feel like your business story is one of those people that just catapulted. You know, while people are moving in arithmetic progression, 1, 2, 3, you are doing 150, 100. You know, so what are those things that you think were really instrumental in helping you scale really fast?
They say if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with people. So, you know, this was us actively carrying between 1,000 to 2,000 distributors. Distributors. On our journey. So there's a retail market, but we are saying, you know what, we are not really dealing, as much as we're not really dealing with the retail market. Let's create a chain of people that will be buying our products, right? They in turn will be selling to the retail market. You know? So that helped us. You know, all over the world, all over the place, we have distributors selling the products. You know, so that really helped us to, you know, to move fast.
To take off really fast. That's fantastic. And in fact, I think I had one of your distributors in my team. She was a team member. Every day she's like, Coach, I'm like, leave me alone. Like it's just like a voracious, ambitious bunch of people. That's actually fantastic. So now you are in post call out, post everything. What's the direction that the business is taking now going forward to at least get it back to where it was and then scale further? You see, as the world eases from all the challenges of the pandemic and all of that, we know that buying power is not the same. We know that people are still recovering and all of that. So we incorporated that into our strategy. We started making cheaper perfumes. Cheaper perfumes that, not like cheaper in terms of quality, but more like in terms of size. In terms of size, a smaller bottle, you know, that could be cheaper. For instance, you can. Is this a small bottle? No, so these are 50 mLs. But then there are now 20 ml bottles. There are now 5 ml bottles that are now refillable. So there's a set that's actually coming that should land pretty soon. Like 10 perfumes in a set, 5 ml each. So a pack of 50 ml that is going for 30,000 naira. Of 10 different perfumes, gift sets, really beautifully done, going for 30,000 naira. And then when you want to refill, you refill for half the price. 15 or 20,000. You get. So every time your perfume finishes, you just send us the box, we refill for you, you send it back. You know, so those kind of strategies is what you're using to survive post-COVID. So also, what structures or what processes did you put in place to ensure that the business is running properly? Because you have thousands of distributors.
Yeah.
You have about 5 stores across a couple of cities.
Yeah.
So what structure was helping the business move and function daily at optimal?
Yeah. So now what we did was to reduce overhead a lot.
Okay.
You know, rather than having stores here, we have only one store now. This is the HQ here.
Okay.
And then instead of opening stores all over, you're now selling at H-Medics, you're now selling at different department stores.
Oh,
you know.
instead of selling in your own stores.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you identify stores that you know a lot of people go to, have your products in them. You know, it reduced overhead drastically. You know, so that's why we are. Yeah, it's also very strategic because lots of people go to those places.
How's the online game? How's the online marketing game?
Online is cool. Online is cool. You know, people are gradually. So interestingly, online we're selling more of the custom fragrances, the bespoke, the customized ones you get. And then, you know, with the reed diffusers we just launched, so that one is doing very well now.
Okay.
You get. So because of the dollar and all of that, the prices of our normal bottle of perfumes went up. You know, so there's a market, but it's more like a cult market for people that are, you know, in the past people, Sapphire, let me see what, now we have a cult loyal following,
yes,
you get, that now buy the fragrances, you know, so that's just it.
What lessons have you learned selling to the rich?
The rich are a peculiar set of people, you get, they want what they want,
Yeah.
and if you can provide it, price is not an option. Yeah.
Did you ever, you know, have issues of theft, like your team members, you know, just trying to sell things and not remit, and how were you able to, you know, surmount it?
Yeah, so we had issues with stock taking. Suddenly you have 10,000 bottles and then you check again, it's 10,980. What is going on here? You know, so we took stock taking very important.
Okay.
And we also began to pay attention to those little details, you know, because perfume is a minute business. Or the oil, this is the bottle of oil, this is 10 ml off, this is. So we began to pay attention, and then we put people in charge that will be responsible. So everybody is guarding their space like a hawk.
Right.
You know, that helped us.
Okay, fantastic. So any advice for entrepreneurs out there, just in general, people who are in business, after 7 years in business, what advice do you have for?
Right, I will tell you that the business terrain in Nigeria, Africa is a graph. Look at, you need to Google what the cycle of a business is. You know, everybody, so you can understand where you are at the moment. You know, you have the boom, you have where you peak, and then you have the depression, you have the trial, and then you go back up again. So if you are facing any kind of turbulence at this moment, and I remember interestingly, I sat with Professor Patutomi on the plane when Sapphire was 5. And I was telling him, oh, sir, you've been very inspiring to me. And then he said, good to meet you. So how old is your business? I said, it's going to be 5 this year. And he said, the 50 in business is usually extremely turbulent. But if you make it alive, you know, you're just going to take off. And I was looking at him like, what is he talking about? But it was right on the dollar. So watch out for the 50 in business, watch out for those peaks. You know, when you are at your optimum level, when you are functioning at your peak right now, you need to start thinking very, very fast, because there's a depression coming. It's not being pessimistic or whatever, it's just the way you have winter, summer, day and night. That's what it is. So if you're at that phase, you need to start thinking and preparing for what is coming next, okay? So don't give up, love what you do, sell out on your dream, and you stay alive.
Fantastic. So thank you so much, Wale. It's been an honor. Oh, I have one last question. So if you were on this side, what one question would you have liked me to ask you that I didn't ask you? Okay.
I would have asked you how you are doing your Instagram. Like, how do you get all these people? That's an art. You're king in that field. You're king in that field.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let me answer. For me, I think it's value. You know, just being consistent with churning out value to people, because I always use this analogy of, you know, you go to a place, you really like the amala, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to bring my friend, I'm going to be, oh, Wale, there's one amala new joint, and then we go there the next day and it's shut down. you know, so well, like I'm like, well, I'll make excuses that don't worry, Wale, maybe something happened to them, and I bring you the third time, the second time, the third time is you're like, Trisha, are you joking? Let's go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So it's that fact that people know that whatever it is, if I go to Tricia's box, I will get value, I'll get a refill for the journey to continue. That's basically one major thing. It's just value consistency.
Brilliant.
Repeat it.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
No, you're amazing at what you do.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's been great talking to you. I wish you all the absolute best in the business. And I'll be back to interview you again 10 years, 14 years, 15 years, God willing. Thank you so much, Wale. All right. Have a good day.
All right.
Peace.